Shalom, shalom. Call hello, Yahweh Shem Yahushua Bashim Kakadash. Double honor to the apostle, elders of great millstone, and peace and salutations to you, sincere Akim out there, pushing the truth across the four corners of the earth, making your calling and election sure. I'm gonna start off with that scripture. Matter of fact, 2 Peter 1:10. Wherefore the rather, brethren, give diligence to make your calling and election sure. For if you do these things, ye shall never fall. And that's what brothers are doing. That's why our apostle gave the order for us to do 3 videos a week at least, and we're supposed to keep pushing and really push it to the limit, like the song says. What is diligence? Because you got so much news going on, you got brothers coming out with so much information, and meanwhile Esau. It's crazy. We always talk about the devices of wicked, but they finally put something about us on national TV, and of course, we know they were going to demonize us. They cut a clip to make it look like we assaulted a woman or something, make it look like some brothers assaulted the woman, when the woman ran upon them and she was belligerent and she really assaulted them and disrespected them. And they spun that clip to try to demonize us. And, this man, these Edomites are fucking predictable. They're predictable. And, that's another reason why this is the beast. Because the beast, it has many devices. Of course, you have the Roman Empire known as the dragon. And you have this is the beast. And it's got, many heads to it. Which that's talking about NATO and the EU. And then if you notice, out of all those countries that formulated the beast and create the beast, the every head has its own style. I put it like that. Every head has its own style of how they rule, how they do business, how they conduct business, how they get down, being a part of the beast. So as we journey through the faith and we journey through, going our journey through this empire and seeing the different things and being able to call out and make bare the thigh and expose these Edomites, the scriptures talk about, I'm getting it. Yeah, it's talking about, It says what? Psalm 33:10, the Lord bringeth the counsel of the heathen to naught. He maketh the devices of the people of none effect. The counsel of the Lord standeth forever, the thoughts of his heart to all generation. There you go. Blessed is the nation whose power is the most high, and the people whom he have chosen for his own inheritance. And we know we are that people. And that's another reason why all these councils, all these meetings, all these news conferences, these summits, all of that shit is going to come to naught, because we've chosen Yahweh Shem Yahushua as our power. All that stuff is coming to a close. And but going back to diligence, what is this word? Spadazo?
Strong's G 4704.
Spadazo.
Spudazzo.
For some reason the audio is not working. Spudazzo. To hasten, make haste, to exert oneself, endeavor, give diligence, right? To make effort, be prompt or earnest, do give diligence, be diligent, endeavor, labor, study. And that's what we're doing. We're studying. Scripture talk about be not ignorant of Satan's devices. And one thing I was meditating upon, Satan has a lot of devices. They have a lot of, scriptures talk about them doing miracles and false miracles and all this stuff. In Egypt, Jannes and Jambres, they were able to turn staffs into snakes to try to counteract Moses. Moses turned his staff into a snake, which was through the will and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. But they were able to do it through the left hand, what we know as magic and all of this stuff. And for somebody who has no for a country that heavily promotes magic and heavily promotes this, You know, basically, damn, what am I trying to say? They all of the, I'll put it like this: all of the different symptoms of using that same kind of shit and using magic. This country basically follows all of those symptoms. Salakia, I'm kind of rambling, but they have the same symptoms, you know, because when you get into that kind of stuff, one of the things you have to do that they talk about frequently is you have to get into pedophilia. You have to become a demon. Okay, going back to Aleister Crowley and the different things and the different, you know, methods he talks about, and just like it says, man, the do what thou will, and that should do what thou will, and that's what this place is in, man. It's in that do what thou will spirit. But when you look in the top, in the leadership, they have their marching orders. So you can do what thou wilt for us here on the low end, you know. But you look at the government, they're fully structured, fully formed. You know, they've had hundreds of years. Matter of fact, I'm gonna say thousands of years. Well, you know what? Hundreds of years to perfect, because let's say thousands, because they use the Roman Empire. They study Rome heavily, and they use the Roman Empire as a guide and as a precursor for this empire. You know, best believe these Edomites, they study that kind of thing heavily. They bring back a lot of things from that empire into this empire. But sticking to the script, because we're talking about Satan's devices, this is just from an article. 10 sobering quotes from the new National Intelligence Strategy. Every 4 years, the National Intelligence Strategy attempts to do something that official Washington seems increasingly incapable of: long-term thinking. Director of National Intelligence Dan Coats released a chilling report on Tuesday that outlines what the 17 federal agencies that make up the intelligence community see as the gravest threats facing the United States. Okay, then it's going to go on and it's going to talk about it. You know, they're going to tell people what they want to hear. You know, basically, because it just, you know, just like we just saw, brothers, they took the Israelite thing and put it in national news. Now it's kind of fading out unless they want to keep the wave going. But we know that the intelligence community is strongly tied in with the news community. Excuse me. They're strongly tied in with news. Okay, you have people in intelligence who coincide with people in news media agencies, and it's, you know, hand joins in hand. And let's look at a few of the issues they want to tackle. It says traditional adversaries will continue attempts to gain and assert influence, taking advantage of changing conditions in the international environment, including the weakening of the post-World War II international order and dominance of Western democratic ideals, increasingly isolationist tendencies in the West, and shifts in the global economy. These are all true, so-called truth bombs. Russian efforts to increase its influence and authority are likely to continue and may conflict with U.S. goals and priorities in multiple regions. That's right. That's true too. You know, the scriptures talk about basically the Lord's gonna put a hook in Gog and Magog's ear. He's gonna charge them up to go to war, and these other nations to want to destroy America as well. So the point being, though, these Edomites, just like us, they're paying close attention to what's going on. They know their devices because they created their devices. We're just kind of following along with their devices. And, you know, when you take a close eye, because we're going over the what and the why. Those are the two most important parts. Let's see. I had one more I wanted to read too. Okay, increasing migration and urbanization of populations are further straining the capacities of governments around the world and are likely to result in further fracturing of societies, potentially creating breeding grounds for radicalization. Here's another point. Pressure points include growing influxes of migrants, refugees, and internally displaced persons fleeing conflict zones, areas of intense economic or other resource scarcity, and areas threatened by climate change, infectious disease outbreak, and transnational criminal organizations. So this is setting the tone for World War III once again. Advances in nano and biotechnology, we know what that is. It's the mark of the beast, have the potential to cure disease and modify human performance, but without common ethical standards and shared interest to govern these developments, they have the potential to pose significant threats, blah, 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 blah. Despite growing awareness of cyber threats and cyber defenses. So basically, combining these two, they have to, because information leakage, that's a huge thing. Every month they talk about millions of people's information being leaked, millions of information, because when you get into information and programming in the digital world, there's nothing that's 100% secure in digital cyberspace. It's a creation of Esau, and once again, there's nothing secure once you put it in cyberspace. So they want to create. Let's see, they want to use advances in nano and biotechnology, aka the chip. They want to be able to they want to neutralize all cyber threats, and they want all your information and your communication to be secure. That's why they got to come with the chip. They want to have a secure network that they can have people on. Yep, the use of weapons of mass destruction, they're always saying that, and then, they talk about money, and they talk about domestic security. So, okay, yeah. I was going to say, that's the spirit. I was going to say, this sounds like a new world order kind of type of shit. And shit, that's exactly what they got here, the new world order. So they're not even tiptoeing around it anymore. They're straight up coming with it, full blast, the new world order. Despots and would-be despots have seen in Trump a model as well as an alibi. Right. Then they're going in on this leadership, and they're talking about some of the different things that people are doing around the world. This is basically an outline for the new world order, the different changes and different things that they want to see implemented, and key pieces that they need to do it. Yep, Guatemala voted with the U.S. on Jerusalem and announced it would move its own embassy to the city. So you got some of that going on. Honduras, you got some of that. So, like I said, man, I mentioned the beast, and these key pieces are part of, these are pawns for the beast to be able to move around, for them to implement this new world order, which they're coming out and just blatantly saying it. Yep, and it says this is Psalms 33:10. The Lord bringeth the counsel of the heathen to naught. He maketh the devices of the people of none effect. So even though they have all these plans, they have all these key pieces, they've identified what person they want, how they want them to move, what style of leadership they want them to have. The Lord, Job 5:12, he disappointeth the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. And what does it say on the dollar bill? Okay, and as we know, all here says what? Novus Ordo Seclorum, New World Order. A new conceptus, we're announcing the conception of a new world order. So this is the final pieces. This is the final pieces that they want to use to secure that world order. But, matter of fact, let me slide back to Job 5:11. It says, to set up on high those that be on low, that those which mourn may be exalted to safety. He disappointed the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. He taketh the wise in his own craftiness, and the counsel of the The froward is carried headlong. They meet with darkness in the daytime and grope in the noonday as in the night. There you go. So these people are who are in the background. I said what? They meet with darkness in the daytime and grope in the noonday as in the night. So you're dealing with dark individuals here. And it's becoming increasingly clear, how these Edomites operate, what they're about. If you didn't already know, or you didn't necessarily understand all of their devices that they use, hey, it's becoming known very quickly. These are what newly declassified documents show that CIA worked closely with owners and journalists with many of the largest media outlets. So you got declassified documents that prove what I said, that prove that the CIA works closely with media outlets. That's why they were able to come up with try to come with that bogus information on us so quick. And the Southern Poverty Law Center, they've already had it set up. These are black identity extremists, all this crazy shit, but we haven't done anything that's extreme, not in Great Millstone. But even the Hebrew Israelites as a whole, they're not coming with anything extreme. We haven't done anything. Let me see. Oh yeah, this is going into Operation Mockingbird. Okay, so I'm gonna just read a few of this because this is all good information, and that's just one thing that's very interesting. If you notice it, the groups that get the most attention, when you talk about the U.S. military and the U.S. as a force, you think about tanks, you think about soldiers with guns, you think about, maybe militarized police. But the one that commands all of those different chains and all of those different armies, the one that influences all of that from the top is the intelligence community. That's the part of Esau's military, and that's a part of Esau's government, because that's a huge part of his government that has the most effect. They have the most power, and that's the one you hear about the least. And this is Esau telling on himself. This says 2008, New York Times wrote, during the early years of the Cold War, prominent writers and artists were supported, sometimes lavishly, always secret, by the CIA as part of its propaganda war against the Soviet Union, which is now Russia. It was perhaps the successful use of soft power in American history. Another one, a CIA operative told Washington Post owner Philip Graham in a conversation about the willingness of journalists to peddle CIA propaganda and cover stories, you could get a journalist cheaper than a good call girl for $100 a month. That's how easy it was for them to give them bullshit information and propaganda. Famed Watergate reporter Carl Bernstein in 1977, more than 400 American journalists in the past 25 years have secretly carried out assignments for the CIA, according to documents on file at CIA headquarters. In many instances, CIA documents show journalists were engaged to perform tasks for the CIA with the consent of the managements of America's leading news organizations. Said what? The consent of the managements, and we know let me see if they have it. Yeah. These are the 6 companies that own all of these different news reporters. GE, General Electric, News Corp, Disney, Viacom, Time Warner, CBS. So these are the 6 that run all of that. 6 companies. Yep, 90% of American media was owned by 50 companies. In 2016, the same 90% is now controlled by 6 companies. So now that that's been taken over and that's being controlled, and you know, that's why the media does what they do. That's why they move how they move. So, you know, the demonization of the Israelites, that's just part of the lot that Esau was given. I'll put it like that. See how they don't want to show us this one. I had to look that one up separately, but the points were all hit. Points, you get the point. Psalms 10 and 2, it says what? Matter of fact, start at 1, you know, because, you know, brothers, this is something we may ask ourselves, even though the Lord has already stated, you know, what it is and what he's going to do. Psalms 10 and 1, why standest thou far off, O Lord? Why hidest thou thyself in times of trouble? The wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor, and let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined. For the wicked boasts of his heart's desire, and blessed the covetous, whom the Lord abhorreth. The wicked, through the pride of his countenance, will not seek after the Most High. The Most High is not in all his thoughts. His ways are always grievous. Thy judgments are far above out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them. And that's why they hate us reading the Bible. That's why they hate what we do, what we stand for, because they favor the covetous. They do all of this evil shit that the scriptures talk about. You got all these people famous now, you know, which, you know, that all that fame and shit, that's bullshit anyway. But even just looking at it, you got all these people who are famous for nothing, for absolutely fucking nothing. You know, famous for being naked in a video or something. You know, just nothing. People with no talent who are famous, and they're promoted by their society as some kind of rulers or some kind of leadership. No, fuck out of here with all that. Okay, the Israelites, we stand for something. We're not doing, you know, we're not doing hashtags. We're not doing video shoots. You know, we're not going to war shows. We're not doing any of that clown shit. We're going to stand on the words that were given to us, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. And just like this said, he had said, is the wicked, he has said in his heart, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity. His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Under his tongue and is mischief and vanity. And that's what you're seeing. You know, all of these accounts and all of these statements, this is him. This is all his fraudulent activity. This is all his bullshit. So I'm going to cut it short. With that being said, call on Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Hopefully it was edifying for you. Shalom.